Hello and welcome to another video. Welcome to Lightroom Classic from start to finish. In this series we're going to explore Lightroom Classic. We're going to take it from the start and go all the way to the editing part. Follow these easy steps so you will never feel lost again in your editing workflow in Lightroom. Now Lightroom is more than just an editing software. It's a tool that provides us with other interesting things that help us to organize our photos, and believe it or not, this is very important. Sometimes we collect photos from many years. Nowadays that we have digital photography, meaning that the files are like plenty, so we have to think big. We have to think down the road that not 20, not 100, not 1,000 photos maybe in our library, in our catalog, in our system, but few hundred thousands of photos. So depending if you're an amateur or you're a professional, organizing your photos is really important. I believe this video will help you do that. So let's start, and don't forget to support the channel by subscribing, to hit that like button and this bell for your notifications, so that whenever a new video is coming out, you get notified. So how we go about organize our material? File structure is the most important thing. We have to decide where everything is going to reside. So the SD card that we use is a temporary location for our photos that we use in our camera system. By no means we have an SD card as a backup storage or a permanent storage for our photography. We use it, we take our photos, we transfer them to our working area, as I call it, and then we do whatever we're going to do in Lightroom, and later on the final step is to have a backup on an external disk or on a cloud service, if it's that possible. The working area is a hard disk that has to be really fast. So nowadays you use a solid state hard disk. I think we have access to 1 terabyte or more of really fast M2 solid disks, which they are really fast, and that's really important because Lightroom, it is heavy. So it really requires a lot of resources from our computer. So it's better to have a really fast disk, so that whenever we access those photos and we edit those photos, Lightroom can perform better. So our working area has to reside on a really fast hard disk. I'm not going to talk about other issues like other characteristics basically that have to do with memory or CPU power. I think the more the better. Now, as you see here, one file structure that we may use is the one that is the simplest one. I think the best choice is to keep it simple. What I mean by that? I mean that use your letter C, D, whatever is your solid state. From there, just use one name of your catalog. I name it like LR catalog here. And then within there, I divide it to, let's say, different catalogs. And for our example's sake, I have a Lightroom folder. From there, I have folders that have to do with our photos, our sources. I have two examples, photos 1 and photo 2. So if I use the photo 1 example, meaning that from this folder, you may call it album, not photo 1, the idea is to have in this folder the years. So I have 2024, I could have previous years, 2023, and so on, you know what I'm saying. And inside that year, you have the months, third, second, third, and so on. So this is the easiest and more simple way to store and structure your folders. I use it that, and I think it's pretty easy because I don't really have to worry about where I'm going to place the images. I go out shooting, I come back, I know that right now we are in February, next month will be in March. of 2024. So where my photos are gonna go, they're just going to be downloaded from my SD card to my folder Photos 1 or album, I call it album, 2024 and 02 or 03 depending on the month. Pretty simple, yeah? Now, for some people that may not be the case. What I mean by that, for professional photographers, it's easier to structure their folders in a project sense, in a photo shooting sense, because they have a lot of photo shootings. So if you're a professional photographer or part of your photography is about a photo shoot or a project, then photo 2 may be an example. So you have photo shoot 1, photo shoot 2, meaning you have to describe what the photo shoot is about, and then within that you can put your raw files and a subfolder for your exports files, because as we're going to see, the raw files, well, if you shoot in RAW, are source files, and then when you edit them, you export them, and you have an export file. So all the files are in this specific folder, so whenever you want to back it up, just move it to your backup storage, and that's it. So decide what is the best scenario for you and go for it. But keep in mind, just keep it simple. That's the whole idea. Now, if we open Lightroom Classic, this dialog box pops up, and we have to select an existing catalog if we have one. If we want to create a new one, we just hit Create New Catalog, and just prompts us where we want to create the catalog. Now, what we're going to do here is choose the name Lightroom. And I'm going to put the file name create. Now let's go and see what that did. This action, what it did is went into my Lightroom catalog and created an LR folder, and in this LR folder it created this LR cat file, which is actually my Lightroom catalog. Now, I personally don't like this structure, or maybe you do, meaning that I prefer having this folder, and I'm going to move it from here, here. So I want to have within the folder Lightroom, my Lightroom catalog, and there I want to have just a subfolder with my photos, my raw files, or my exports. So I have everything together. So now, if I go again and I open Lightroom Classic, I can choose a different catalog, and I can go here and say, okay, go to Lightroom, LR catalog, and there you go. It puts that selection in the top of the list, and I can just hit open, and it opens my Lightroom. So welcome to Lightroom Classic. So this is the environment. We have our menu system, we have our panels on the left, the right, the bottom. We see each one of them in a very nice order, and we will see the details of it. So stick around until the end of the series, and believe me, you will learn it from start to finish, being very, very easy. So what do we have to do? Well, we have to upload some photos. Now, how do we import photos in our catalog? First of all, we get our SD card. There you go, my SD card has some photos in it. Now, I'm going to put it in my card reader, and then we just open, I guess, if I go here, it gives me the name EOS Digital, which is my SD card, and there I can see the DC, and then the folders, and here we go, there are the source files. How do I move them to my working area and in Lightroom? There are two ways to do it. The first way is to just put the SD card in and then go directly to Lightroom. Let's see how this works. So if I come to Lightroom and I hit this import button at the top, bottom left, it opens this window. Now this window is the import dialog. On our left side, on our left panel, we have our resource, our source folder. Since I have my an SD card in, it took me directly to this folder. So it shows me on my DC card. Now, there are include subfolders tick. What this means is that if I don't have this on, I won't be able to see anything because I have to go in the subfolder here to show me the photos. So pay attention that this check may or may not be useful during your import. So I have this set of photos, and on the bottom part, on the top part, I see the options. Well, copy as DNG, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go directly to copy. What copy means is that I'm going to take the photos from the SD card, copy them to the destination, and the SD card will continue to have the files, the photos. I'm not able to move them or add them in my Lightroom. Those are two options that we're going to see later on. Now, on your right panel, you will see the destination. One of the options is destination. So this is where we're going to copy the files. So we have to locate. That's why we have to keep it simple. You see, now if I go and I close this, I can go directly to my LR catalog, my Lightroom, and then I can put it in Photos 1 if I have this, 2024, and 02, meaning that I know this shoot was on February. So that's all I have to do, and just click import. Now, before I do that, I have some other options. I mean, I can go and say, click here, only the new photos. Well, they're all new. I can go check or uncheck all in case I wanted to, because I just may want to click and import these. Or I can do this. I can click the first one and go shift and click, and then click on the checkbox, meaning that I choose the first one, shift click the last one, so all of them are selected, and then by clicking the checkbox on the first one or in any photo, then all the selected ones are checked. Okay, so if I'm done, then I can hit the import button, and this will start to import. Now, what this will do, let's see, it will start copying the files from my SD card to my working area. That's one progress bar here, and the second operation that it's doing is creating a standard preview. Now, what a standard preview is how I'm going to view my thumbnails, how I'm going to view my photos. You see, I have these thumbnails that I can change the size. I can go from this grid view to what is called a loop view, which is the full photo. Don't worry about that. We're going to explore all of this in our next video. So, hello Ralu, my dog Ralu. She's moving around and make noises. Now, let's take a detour and go to the menu here and hit those preferences and catalog settings. Those are the two settings that we should have seen at the beginning, or we can do it anytime we want to. So, what is catalog settings? Well, catalog settings basically show us where the catalog is, where it resides on our hard disk, when it was created, and how often do we want to back it up. How often do we want to pop up a backup dialog, so Lightroom prompts us to back up our Lightroom catalog. Keep in mind that Lightroom only backs up the Lightroom catalog, not your sources. So it is your job to keep a backup for the Lightroom catalog and the source files and the photos. So, because if either one is lost, then tough luck. Now, file handling, on the other hand, is how big the standard preview size is. Now, that depends on your computer. Right now, I use the auto, which is 1920 pixels. If I have, and I do have, greater options, I can go to more pixels, meaning that is going to take less time to render the photo as I preview the photo, which is pretty good. Now, I want the preview quality to be medium, low, or high. That really depends again on your system. I choose high. And how often, how long do you want to keep the one-to-one preview? One-to-one preview is meaning that it's going to keep the preview to its maximum size, 6,000, whatever your camera shoots. And because that takes space, it will discard these previews, and then whenever you visit a photo, it will create it again temporarily and will discard it again after 30 days. Usually we work on a photo shoot or in a specific month or year, and rarely we go back to 2022 or 2021 or whatever to see photos. So basically we don't really have we don't really need to have all the information uploaded and keep space with the one-to-one previews to so far at on our history. So this is how I'm going to set. Now metadata, I'm not going to talk about it. The only thing that we may want to use is this automatically write changes into XMP. XMP is a file that has the same name as our raw file and actually keeps our editing. So if you want to store your editing into a separate file and then email to someone the raw file and the XMP file, he or she is able to combine those two together and actually see the editing that you did and make changes to that. So it's only useful if you have something like that in mind. Otherwise, I just keep it unchecked, because what else? It keeps space, and space, it's a good thing to have. So I can go OK, and then now if I go back to my import dialog, you will see now that here it has another set that says don't import suspected duplicates. So I can have this checked or unchecked. You see, if I have it checked, then some are disappeared here at the top, like the 3161 and so on and so forth. And this is the preview. The standard, the one that's chosen with standard, it has to do with the options that we made. If you want, you can make it a one-to-one, but this will take too much space, and I don't think it's really worth it. So let's have all of them imported. So let's do and hit import and have more photos imported into our catalog. Now this will take some time, depend on the on your hard disk speed, on your memory and CPU, and on your system performance. Now bear in mind that on the left side here, it shows us the folder that these files that we see exist. We can hit right click and say show parent folder. So this will show us the top folder. We can go here and say show parent folder, and then again show parent folder. Okay, maybe we do that again, right? So here we have on our folder left panel, we can see the folder structure that we created. Now, the one thing is absolutely important to understand is that by the time you import your photos into Lightroom, Lightroom only knows the location of the photo. It doesn't store the photo itself. So it's really important to not do anything to this file outside Lightroom, meaning do not rename it or do not move it somewhere else. If you do one of those two things, then Lightroom will say, I don't know where that photo is, and will put an exclamation mark onto the top of your thumbnail. So you will have to go and find that photo somewhere, whatever you put it in or however you renamed it. So it's a non-destructive application, it's a non-destructive tool. So what that means is that it leaves the source file intact and do anything within the application. So it's really important at this point to understand this. Do not move outside Lightroom photos and do not rename them. So what I'm going to do if I want to do something like that? Well, first things first. How about if we want to rename a photo? Well, you can go like this, highlight them, and go to your right where it says metadata, has file name, and here you can go and hit for batch renaming. We're going to do that, how to batch rename a photo. Or we can just select one and go file name, and we just rename this one. Now, here comes the next question. What name? You know, I just put a name and says underscore rs underscore 1358.cr2. Well, that's the name of the file. What is the best option to have when we have to name our files? Well, that's another thing. Besides file structure, the second thing that we have to decide is how we're going to name those photos. Now, again, we have to keep it simple, but here we have to have another thing into consideration. In this case, we have the files all located in a specific folder. Now, imagine that you have an export that has and stores all your files from many years and many subfolders. So the trick part here is that you have to name each file in such a way that no two files have the same name. So a convention that you may choose is to put the name of the photographer, like your name, your full name, or some letters that combine your name, like my name is Varonos, and I use VRS as a shortcut. So I use VRS as the first part. Then you may choose the photo shoot name. You know, I do a photo shoot for a wedding or a party or a work for commercial work. So maybe you put that there. Maybe then you put the year or the month. Maybe you include the camera body. You know, what I have is a convention that puts my name, it puts my camera body, because I may go out and shoot on my Canon EOS R, and or maybe I shoot on a Sony or a Fuji. I don't own, you know, two same brand cameras, so I don't have two EOS Rs. If I have that, then I will have, say, EOS R1 and EOS R2 to distinguish. Then I put the year, the month, and just keep the number at the end, which is a number that the camera provides, you know, the camera creates actually. So the meaning that is that with this convention, I cannot take more than, well, I can, but most of the time I don't, take in 1 month more than 9,999 photos, you know, meaning that the Canon system numbers these 4-digit files. I think Sony has 5-digit or Fuji has 5 digits. So depending that, you know, I'm not gonna shoot more than that. So in this way, if I have all the photos exported into one catalog, then I will never run into the problem that I will have the same file name in 2 different photos. This happened to me once when I was shooting, and then my wife Irene was shooting, and we had the same name files. So, you know, imagine what happened. I have one photo from Rome, and she had another photo from Rome, and they have the same file name. So when we exported to create our album from Rome, then one got on the top of the other and was replaced. So we didn't get 2 photos, which may be 2 different, you know, one maybe from Colosseum and the other one maybe from whatever. So, you know, it's really, really important to keep this in mind. I'm going to show you one last thing that has to do with file naming. Here, when you click the batch name button, you have this option and you create different templates. Now, Lightroom loves templates. So keep in mind, you can create templates for almost everything. So file naming, how are you going to do it? I have like here, VRS, I have a 7D. My friend had the 7D Mark II. So you see, I create the second one, an EOS R, an SX10. And that's for my part. Now Irene shoots in SX10, and if it happens to shoot in EOS R, then I'm going to create a separate template. So if I do this and click Edit, you will see how I structure it. I put my name, then I put the year, then I put the month, the model, and just a suffix that has to do with the original number. And that's it. You can create different ones, different options here. You know, you can insert it, write something if you want. You can create a template in any way that suits for you, and then just click done, and you will have a template and magically have all of these files named this way. Now, if I copy from my SD card, on my right panel, I have my rename file option, meaning that I can use my renaming. So before, or well, during the import, I copy the files from my source to my destination, and at the same time I'm going to rename them. So I won't have to import them first and then do the renaming thing. Now go to the other option. The other option is to put my SD card on, then use my File Explorer, open my SD card, well, locate the photos, go here, select the files, move them via my Windows Explorer or my Finder on a Mac, and put them in the location that I want. We know. Keep it simple. Year, month, that's it. Then I can just come here, select everything, delete them from my SD card. So I have my SD card emptied, and just remove my SD card. Now I'm going to go back in Lightroom Classic and hit that import button. Now on this way, on this option, I have to go and select the working area. So my source is now running under Lightroom, Photo 1, ER. If I go here and click Include Subfolders, that's all I have to do. So now you see I have the option Add being highlighted, meaning that Lightroom knows that these files are already located in, let's say, working area. It's not an external SD card. So it only adds them into Lightroom catalog. It actually updates the location of those photos into Lightroom. So I can add them, or if I want, I can move them, meaning add them first and move them to a new location. Well, actually move them first and then add them into catalog. So if I choose move, then the destination folder is once again available to move them from location A to location B. Well, I'm not going to do that. Most of the times what I do is I add them. So I just add them into Lightroom, and now you see on the right I don't have the option of having a different destination. I still have the option of the previews that I'm going to use to build, and I don't have the file renaming option. So if I use this workflow, then I have to first add them into my catalog, import them into my catalog, and after I do the import, I click Ctrl A to select all of them, come here to file name, hit that, select the template, click OK, and just rename them the way I want. Well, and there you have it. Those are the first steps in Lightroom catalogs. Those are the most important things and the ones that you're going to use over and over again. The first thing is create your folder structure, which is actually the most important thing. Do your file naming, template to decide how you're going to name your folders, your files, sorry, and then do the import procedure. Use the import in any way of the two ways I show you. It's really simple. You choose one way and you do it over and over again, so you won't get confused over time how to do it. So those are the three things we've seen today. Until next time, take care.